So, moving on to our main topic, going first. Now, this was a question that was posed to me by a viewer, and I decided, why not? We can do it. Reading, going to the question. Just give me 1 second there. Actually, pull up the question itself so I can get it right. So it was done. I want to credit the person who. So it was submitted by Rion, if I'm pronouncing that right. And they wanted to hear about two topics they want to hear my opinions on, which is the economic balance between going first and second, and planning power spikes for turns where you will be the first player, or odd versus even turns. And I felt that would kind of fit in with this week. I figured, once now that we've learned, we've pretty much seen everything we can see at this point about the general mechanics concerning the conflict phase, and we have a pretty reasonable idea about generally how bringing out personalities and initiative and those kind of things are going to work. That we can discuss some things now. As far as the balance is, like whether or not one is better than the other going first, there's no answer as that. One, we don't have any like enough cards to make that determination. And I think it will be largely dependent upon the meta whether or not going first or going second will be better. But more or less, I think it's also dependent upon your deck. I think certain clans are predispositioned to go first, and certain clans are predispositioned to go second. And the clans that there's a couple things that I started thinking about when going first that become immediately relevant. One, if you're going first, so the game, they say that the game is going to be won in 3 to 6 turns, right? So that means that if you go first on turn 1, you will go first on turn 1, turn 3, turn 5, and turn 7 in every odd after that, right? Unless you play a card effect, which we've already seen one, which I'll get to here in a second. 2, if you go first and you're playing an equal amount of guys during your dynasty phase, or making an equal amount of actions, because you can also play actions, although we haven't seen too much. We've seen them from holdings, like things like staging ground, which I'll show you here in a second, or I'll talk about here in a second. But if you're making two equivalent actions, you're purchasing a character, playing some sort of action, and you're making an equal number as to your opponent, you will have the first opportunity to pass, which will yield you 1 fate going in. So that means you can technically spend 1 fate more than you would normally be able to spend if you were not purchasing that many extra people. You can spend more of your fate, essentially. So that means if you're going first, do you spend that extra fate to leave that guy out for an extra turn or two? My thought is that you can't. That based upon that, you may be able to. The second thing I'm thinking, or the third thing I'm thinking about going first generally, what will momentum look like coming back? Because there's like this capsize effect that I'm noticing. So let's say we purchase 2 characters, and we swing in. We fight, we swing in with 1 character, and that character gets killed because of Masahiro's effect, which we just showed you. The Phoenix Shikenja that can cause a person to be discarded. It's a fire. And then I swing in with a political. Or then you swing in with your political action. You have 2 guys. Right? You win that engagement. Straighten a guy. Or even you just win an engagement. Right? And the personality that I have is bowed. Now you've won 1 battle and you win the Imperial Favor. Which means for your chosen battle or conflict, either military or political, you're going to receive +1 to all your guys. For every two guys is basically worth 1 fate. Not only that, but you will have any fate that you left had stored over from the previous turn. So when you're planning on going first, or when you're building your deck, because I'm pretty sure in this the bonsai article that we have, or the conflict, the previous articles, the conflicts of Rikugan, uh, going first was randomly determined before you drew cards or saw personalities. But regardless, when you make that decision, right, to go first, when you're building your deck and you're sitting down at a game and you're making that decision, you need to be able to plan, okay, what's this going to be looking back on, coming back at me if I'm playing them, and that will be dependent upon clan. You know, if a clan like Crab, for instance, which seems to be predispositioned towards going second, is going to be coming back at you twice as strong, well, not twice as strong, but like stronger than they were in the first turn, then you need to plan accordingly. Maybe you don't want to go first in that situation. Or if you're playing, a clan that's predispositioned that your decks, that's what you want to do. You want to blitz. You want to attack early. You need to plan accordingly for that sort of capsize effect. You either need to be able to gain the favor and be prepared to suffer the possible repercussions of them spending their fate. If they're playing Dragon, for instance, with the let's go into our Mogger here so I can talk about cards. So if they're playing the Seeker of Enlightenment, for instance, and they're playing Dragon, and they have a 2 fate cost character, Seeker of Enlightenment, 1 military strength, 1 political strength, monk tattooed, 0 glory, and has traits. This character gets +1 military skill and +1 political skill for each fate on an unclaimed ring. So that means on the second turn, if they're going second, and they get past initiative on the second turn, they're going to get, at minimum, 1 fate. Because there's going to be, unless there's effects at play that allow you to fight all 5, claim all 5 rings, as it were, they're going to be gaining that extra fate, plus on top of the Imperial Favor if they have it, plus on top of any other effects like from the Togashi Initiate, which we talked about last week. So that's the kind of thing you got to think about when planning your go first, or when you're building your deck and planning on going first, in my mind. The advantages, though, is early disruption, right? That's the advantage. The advantage in every single card game to date has been going first. In the old L5R, going first, clients hinged around it, like I had said in a previous cast. Clients hinged around Lion. If me as a Lion player, like me going first, if my clan went second, right, my deck did dramatically worse. My entire design philosophy of my clan, right, not only just in deck building, but what the designers were giving me was hinged around the idea that I was going first as a player, right, during games against, unless it was during a mirror matchup. So but now it's random. So who goes first? Who goes second? What do you want to be? And that's the decision you got to make. But the momentum here is kind of even more so. So you need to plan that when you plan your thing. So I think in the first, so let's break down like the minimum, like assuming that nobody that there's not minimum, but there's just minimum resistance, right? We can honestly expect, if we do pretty well, or on course for victory, to take out 1 province in the first turn, right? At best, I would think. Maybe 2, if you're exceptional. But like as far as I've seen, I haven't seen anything that makes me think that taking 2 provinces is going to be an easy thing on the first turn. Now that also makes me expect that I'll probably be able to take one as an attacker. I'll probably be able to take 1 province on the second turn, right? And then maybe at best I'll be able to take 2 on the third turn. But I'm thinking that more commonly, because of just the way the force ratios are, the force pumps and those sorts of things, that might not be as easy. Because yeah, we have Bonsai, this card here, which allows us, which will be a card if you're playing going first. Is definitely a card you probably want to. Let me find it here. Let's see here, so I can read it to you. or the bonsai. So the 0 fate cost event that allows you to gives you +2 military skill and up to twice if you lose an honor. So you can get up to +4, right? Or if you're playing Wandering Ronin, or Wandering Ronin, which was right there. It's 3 fate cost military character, or 2 military skill, 2 political skill, Bushi Ronin, 0 glory, action. During a conflict, remove 1 fate from this character. It gets +2 military skill, +2 political skill until the end of the conflict, limited twice per conflict. Right? So, he's a big swing character. He can go up to, what, 6 force? Just all by himself. So, he's a character that you want to plan to bring out on like turn 4 or whenever you're having the initiative. So planning initiative with so the first turn though, like as I was going back to the original thing, you're going to be able to take out at best like turn 1, right? It seems to me that it stands to reason that you can actually benefit a little bit more in some cases if you claim different rings, right? Like bowing a character or removing a fate from a character actually becomes a lot more potent in the earlier turns as opposed to later turns. That may not be true, obviously. There's effects and things that we don't know everything, but it would stand to reason that if you're planning on blitzing, that's the sort of effect that you would like to have, right? Is disrupting, right? I'm also wanting to have effects that straighten you. This is going to lead me into like the faction. So let's target a faction. I think there's going to be one faction that we've seen so far, based on the cards we've seen so far, that will be the Blitz faction, quote unquote. And I think that's Unicorn. So what makes me say that? Well, in the first preview, we saw this card right here, Breakthrough. 0 cost event, Unicorn event. Reaction: after the resolution of your first conflict phase, as the attacking player, if that conflict broke a province, immediately declare your second conflict for that phase. That's a huge card. Huge. Because you get to not only attack. Now, you may not be able to break that second province, and I think first turn you probably won't, largely. Because you'll be expending resources, right? But you'll be able to claim a second ring, which gives you that extra favor, right? Which is I really want to emphasize because that's huge, especially going into the second turn. You'll be able to have chances to kill a second character, right? If you have a kill action on one of your or I say kill, it's an old way I've used it, but a removal action, something that removes character personality on board, right? If you have a character that does that on the Unicorn side. It's 1 influence too, so whatever, I mean, we haven't really seen the rules, the full rules for influence, how they're going to be splashable and things. But one of the cards that, or whoever gets to splash this card, Breakthrough, will definitely have an advantage for determining go first. The second card that makes me think they're going to be a Blitz faction is up here. 1 second here. The way the Unicorn philosophy card. If I can find it here, let me pull it up. But it's one of their way of philosophy cards that the ones with the really nice water ink or whatever they call it. Was it ink? Is it ink art or oil art? I'm not an artist, so where is it? Way of the Unicorn. So it's a 0 cost event. Way of the Unicorn philosophy traded has interrupt when you would pass the first player token. Keep it instead. So you pass the first player token at the end of the turn. If that wasn't explained earlier. So that makes me think that okay, you want to go first with them. You want to keep that initiative because then you'll be able to reap the benefits of the second turn as well. So that capsize effect gets more. So that says to me Blitz, right? You can go in, play whatever's in your hand to disrupt, break a province because you only need to break 1. Attack again, bow another character, remove a fate from a character so he gets discarded from play during the fate phase. Now they're down a personality plus whatever they lost. You gain the favor. You're gaining more force. You keep the initiative, right? That sort of effect. Another thing that makes you think it, say it, that is a really key effect for anybody, really, and this is a standard effect, ready effects. So Border Rider is a unicorn personality, 2 fate, 2 military skill, 1 political skill, Bushi, cavalry, 1 glory, has an action ready this character. So that's when you stand him up, when you straighten him, or untap him, or whatever you want to call it, right? Ready this character. That's a strong effect, because not only can you attack in a military conflict, right? But or yeah, because that's what the skill is a 2 as opposed to the 1. So you're probably going to want to put this person into military. But you're going to be able to straighten them to defend because they do have a political skill there, right? Or after everything's said and done, right? You've done your military, you've done your political attacks because you've played breakthrough. You could stand them up and then gain that extra favor because Imperial favor is counted by the number of rings that you've won, right? Plus standing characters. If that's a big so whether or not that's good in the beginning, I don't know. I don't think so because I think there will only be it'll be either be a trade in my opinion, right? Or it will be. Now, what are you giving up by going first turn, though? Like, we were talking about the capsize effect, but we're also talking about information, which leads me into going second. So, what is a clan that I think is going to go second? And what is going second? What am I thinking about when I'm going second? So, what I'm thinking about when going second is first I'm thinking about I'm getting information, and I'm going to want that information. There's a lot that you can tell a person by what personality you play first, by what ring you go after and claim first. That tells me about your deck and the strategies. Maybe not now, because we've only seen a limited card pool. But as the time go on, you're going to play these decks, and you're going to play them over and over and over again, right? And you're going to learn there's going to be certain strategies that emerge. And there are certain initial openings, just like chess, right? Now, it's a little different because there's more diversity in initial openings, but the same concept is true. The opening tells me a large part about your strategy. People typically open by putting the pawn out. If you don't know how to play chess, then I don't know what to do for you. Go Google it. If you play a pawn out in the center, that's a standard opening, right? But there's other openings that you can do that that inform me about what's going on, about what your decks do, in strategy in chess it's your opponent, and that will be true here. It also gives me an opportunity to counterplay you, right, through either just intimidation. So like if you come out with this Border Rider character, and I come out with Asawa Masahiro, which is the Phoenix Clan guy, the three costed Phoenix Clan guy, a Bowser guy, or yeah, a Bowser guy. Discard. I bow to discard a guy. Or you come out with this Phoenix Clan character, one fake cost, Solemn Scholar, 1 military, 1 political skill, Shikenja Earth Scholar, glory, or 1 glory. During a conflict, if there is a Earth Ring, or if the Earth Ring is in your claimed pool, choose an attacking character by that character. Right? If that character is in play, you can't announce Earth if you're going to potentially lose. So depending on the play, you can just intimidate them into not doing certain actions. Or if you have a card that outright removes them. You can also play control effects. That's one of the things I think is important about this week's news article, or the preview article during the conflict, was that there's an action window there. So you can play pacifism on a character, right? which means that they will have they may not be able to. So you're gonna look at their board, right? And they're they go first. They have two guys. They bring out two guys, maybe three. Two of them military, one's political, let's say, or one of them has the ability to go in political. So now what you do is you have an option. You can either cut their military in half, right, or take out their strongest guy. Pacify that person so they can go in the military. Or you can go for the character who can go in the political but is also military. Which actually makes no sense to me now that I'm thinking about it. Just, yeah, you go after the military guy, you cut down their military guy. So now they, yeah, they can attack, but if they only attack with one guy during the trade, during the conflict, there's a high likeliness that you can remove that guy or bump that guy off or send him home. You win the battle. You claim that Earth ring. Now they can't attack at all. Right? So, momentum is another thing which you discuss when going first, but that's a big deal. Right? This Otomo Courtier, which just happened to be above pacifism, is going to be pretty strong in normal decks, right? But it can be attacked. So you one fate cost, two political skill, dash for military, Courtier Imperial, one glory. This character cannot participate in conflicts as an attacker against a player that controls Imperial favor. But it's a cheap one-drop character, right? That gives you two political skill. That's strong for the first turn, especially if you're playing defensively, because you're going to want to bring out as much defense as you can, right, for cheapest, because you can then save that money, bring out characters, or play actions and do dumb stuff during your, when you gain the initiative, and then push in to do damage. Maybe at that point you break a province, right, or do whatever your deck's designed to do, right, because you'll have more resources, you'll have more characters. Hypothetically, you'll have the option to have Imperial favor. So there is a trade. I mean, there are cards that you have to think about this capsize effect, and is the what I'm saying about when you're thinking about the trades, not just the information, but like also the swings, right? Because there's more economy that you can save up between each turn, right? How much fate are you going to spend on the first turn? That's, I think, the big question that we don't know, because we haven't seen the full card pool yet. And that will determine a lot. But I think Phoenix will have a very strong ability to go. I mean, like, honestly, because they have, like, in this week, they gave us they have a Sawa Masahiro, a three fate cost, 3 military skill, 2 political, Shikenja Fire, 2 glory. Action during a fire conflict, battle this character. Choose a participating character with a printer cost 2 or lower. Discard that character. Right? That's strong for defense. And it's also strong for attacking too. Right? And they have the Shiba Peacemaker. Sorry, that was the big character. The 1 fate cost, 4 military skill, 1 political skill, Bushi, 1 glory. This character cannot participate in conflicts as an attacker. So he's obviously, you bring him out, they're not attacking the military. Well, they will, because he is only a 1-drop, and he is vulnerable to those. He's within that 2 fate that they have for for vulnerable characters, for actions that remove people. But yeah, another thing is, like, you have to think about tempo. You have to think about the tempo of the game, because that's the big deal. Tempo's in every game. In this game, it's really acute because the things fall off, and that's going to affect tempo, right? So if you come out really aggressively with no fate on any of your guys, then those guys are going to go away at the end of turn, and that's going to affect your tempo. That's a huge tempo drop for you, because you have to replace those guys. Now, if you're coming out with 2 guys with 1 fate on them, so that means they're going to last at least for 1 turn, right? And they cost somewhere in the area of 4 to 5. You retain 2 fate for the next turn. Let's assume this 7 is the average, right? You pass first. Now you have 3. So you can afford to play a card like Fallen in Battle a 1 cost fate event reaction. After you win a military conflict by 5 or more skill, choose a participating character, discard that character. Maximum 1 per conflict. This is very similar also to this card right here, is also very similar to Put to the Sword, which is a Game of Thrones card, which is pretty standard. So you attack and you kill a guy, or a woman. kill a character. So it's the this sort of capsizing effect means that you're gonna think about, okay, how much fate am I gonna come out with? What am I gonna purchase within the second turn, right? What am I gonna want to purchase? What are my goals gonna be during the second turn? And then you're gonna push in the third turn, and then so as the games go on, you're gonna have a more of a clearer idea about where your deck is gonna function, right? And I'm not breaking down the exact math because honestly, I'm not very good at that. Like like doing advanced calculations and analysis like that. I'm just kind of going through what I'm thinking about and what I'm looking at. There's gonna be clans that are predispositioned also to going to either first or second, right? They're going to be able to choose either, and I think those are clans that are going to immediately, at least in the core set, going to be really highly functional. So let me find a dragon, for instance, right? Dragon's got some pretty cheap, pretty reasonable characters, but they get better if they go second, right? But they also have characters that are strong blitz characters. So they have Doom Shikenja, a 1 fate cost dragon character with 3 military skill, 3 political skill, Shikenja Fire, 1 glory. It's limited, so you can only play it once. Limited strictly says no more than 1 limited card can be played by each player each round. So you don't play 1 limited. And it says you cannot place fate on the character when it is played from one of your provinces. That's a strong blitz card. It's also a good defense card too, to be honest with you. But that's a strong blitz card. You just bring that Shikenja out, go trucking into province just to disrupt things, just to play actions. Miramoto Prodigy, another great military card. 2 fate cost, 3 military skill, 2 political. Bushi Duelist, 1 glory. Has the one, or while character is attacking alone, your opponent cannot declare more than 1 defender. Right? So, like, even if you're expecting to get the character cacked in that battle, like they're gonna play an effect from their hand to remove the character. There's nothing on board, for instance. That's still not bad because you're still removing a card from hand. So they had to pay honor for that, right? Right, unless they were only drawing 1 card, in which they're, sacrificing a potential honor gain, or potential card. Yeah, we'll go into breakdown between honor and drawing and that sort of stuff as time goes on. I would like to see more drawing effects before we do any of that, though. So yeah, those are my thoughts on going first and going second, and the general placement between. I think, in a summary, obviously blitzes are going to want to go first, but they're going to have to plan for the capsize effect, for the this rebound effect that you're seeing in game, and if they're going to be hard blitzing, they need to plan and play accordingly to make sure they win the game on the turn that they have initiative, because they'll have the greatest effect. That's the only final thing I would add about that. So if you want to win, on turn 3 or 5. Like, that's your ideal turn, because then you'll have the most going for you. And if you're going second, you have a strong advantage to control out your characters. For everything from playing effects to getting the first action into battle, unless they have like some sort of sneak attack effect that they come out with. The ability to have more fate for when you actually do decide, because that capsize effect, if you can defend cheaply and easily, you pacify, you play your Otomo Courtier first turn. I mean, that's 3 fate right there. It's not too bad. And like, we don't even know if there's going to be anything that reduces this cost or makes this better. So now you have like, what, 4 fate? Let's just say that these are the only 2 cards that you played. the Odimo Courtier and the pacifism. You save, let's say, if you're getting 7, because 7 is quote unquote the standard that we were thinking, then you would save 4 fate. You'd pass first, so you'd actually save 5 fate for the next turn. These are the things I'm thinking about, and these are the going to play into that forward thinking skill that comes into the game. So yeah, okay. So that's our segment on strategy. Hope I did well for my first time. I've never missed, sitting down and thinking about a strategy segment. I'm not an amazing. I probably should have disclaimed at the beginning. I'm not like like top tier level player or anything. I do okay for myself in most card games, but I'm not. I don't horribly suck, but I'm not amazingly great. I'm pretty average, I think. But hope that helped answer questions and start discussions, hopefully. And yeah, so let's go. I'm gonna go ahead and go into our post show. Thank you if you are listening to this on audio uh, or watching the edited version. Don't forget you can submit your comments to L5R Destiny Cast at gmail.com. If you want to email me, you could go visit our Facebook page. Destiny Has No Secrets. You can Facebook me at L5R Destiny Cast. And online, I'm known as Spoonfunk. My name is Doug Quinn. And thank you for watching. This is Destiny Has No Secrets.